Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a massive story that's sending shockwaves across the NFL landscape, and it's one that centers around none other than Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. For decades, Jones has been one of the most polarizing figures in professional sports, someone who has always demanded the spotlight, and someone who has made just as many enemies as he has loyal supporters. But now, it looks like there's a brewing movement among certain NFL players who are voicing frustrations, some even attempting to take shots at Jones' way of running the league's most valuable franchise. And while all of that drama unfolds, we've also got some exciting updates on injuries that could shape the Cowboys' season in a huge way. If you thought the Cowboys' off-season was already chaotic, buckle up, because this is going to be a roller coaster ride of news, updates, and speculation. Jerry Jones has long been at the center of attention, both for his bold personality and his unfiltered comments. He doesn't shy away from controversy, and time after time, he's found himself in the middle of league-wide debates, whether it's about player contracts, negotiations with the NFLPA, or even personal comments that ruffle feathers. But recently, several NFL players have made it clear that they're tired of the way Jones throws his weight around. For many, Jones represents an old-school way of thinking in the league, a billionaire owner who still tries to control the narrative, dictate terms, and operate like it's the 1990s. And while Jones' influence can't be denied, he's a massive reason the Cowboys are consistently labeled America's team. More and more players are starting to question whether his power is hurting the league and, more importantly, their own interests. Some former Cowboys players have hinted at frustrations before, saying that while Jones is a master promoter, his involvement in football decisions has sometimes held the team back. But now, it's not just whispers, it's becoming louder. Certain active NFL players around the league, especially ones who've gone toe-to-toe with the Cowboys in contract negotiations, are quietly signaling disapproval. There are even talks about players possibly standing up collectively, making their feelings known in subtle but powerful ways. And the reason this is gaining traction now is because the NFL is entering an era where players have more influence than ever before. Social media has given them a direct voice to fans, stars are more marketable as individuals, and the union has been pushing hard for more player-friendly conditions. In that environment, Jerry Jones' very public persona and old-school tactics stand out like a sore thumb. For the Cowboys, this situation is layered with irony. The team has always been about star power, branding, and headline-grabbing storylines. And yet, the very man who built that image might now be at the center of a potential player-driven pushback. Jones has faced player criticism before. Remember the controversies around anthem protests, or the drama during high-profile contract disputes with guys like Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, and Dez Bryant. He has a track record of digging his heels in, making statements that dominate headlines, and ultimately forcing situations to revolve around him. Some players have grown frustrated that instead of letting things be handled quietly behind closed doors, Jones makes it a public spectacle, something that can either pressure players or paint them in a negative light. What makes this even more explosive is that Jones, at his age, isn't showing signs of slowing down or handing over full control. Many thought Stephen Jones or other members of the family might quietly take over more of the responsibility. And while that's true in some organizational aspects, Jerry himself still has the microphone, still makes the final calls, and still relishes being the face of the Cowboys. That's something that bothers a segment of players who feel the game has passed some of those old approaches by. They want ownership groups and front offices that are collaborative, more transparent, and less about personal ego. And while Jones has certainly built a dynasty in terms of business, the football results haven't lived up to the hype in nearly 3 decades. That gap between image and results is exactly why players around the league feel emboldened to question him more than ever before. Of course, Jerry Jones isn't going anywhere. His stake in the Cowboys and his unmatched influence in NFL circles make him nearly untouchable in terms of being forced out. But what could happen is a noticeable shift in how players, especially superstars, approach situations with Dallas. If the perception grows that Jones prioritizes control over cooperation, free agents could start to hesitate about coming to Dallas. Young stars might be warier in contract negotiations. And current Cowboys could feel emboldened to push back more openly when they don't like the way things are going. That's why the idea of players trying to take down Jerry Jones isn't necessarily about removing him, but about challenging his authority, resisting his influence, and showing that this new generation of NFL players won't always play by the old rules. Now, as all of that drama builds off the field, let's turn to some much-needed positive news for Cowboys fans: injury updates. And let me tell you, these updates could seriously change the outlook of the team as the season approaches. Injuries have haunted the Cowboys in recent years, derailing promising stretches and leaving fans wondering what if more times than they'd like to admit. But right now, there are signs of hope that some key players will be ready to contribute sooner than expected. First, let's talk about the offensive line, which has been a major source of stress for the Cowboys over the last few seasons. There's no secret that Dak Prescott's success is tied directly to the protection he gets. The Cowboys' line has been elite in the past, but it has also been banged up. This offseason, fans were holding their breath about whether some guys would heal up in time. The good news is, reports are coming out that several linemen are ahead of schedule in their recoveries. That means more depth, more stability, and less of that panic that sets in whenever an injury report drops. A healthy offensive line not only keeps Dak comfortable but also supercharges the run game, which the Cowboys desperately need if they want to balance their offense. On the defensive side, the updates are just as encouraging. One of the Cowboys' biggest strengths is their young, explosive defense, led by Micah Parsons, who's already become a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. But the supporting cast matters, and recently, the team was sweating over injuries to some secondary players and key rotational guys. The word now is that several of those players are trending in the right direction, expected to be back on the field sooner rather than later. That's critical, because the Cowboys know they can't rely solely on Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. They need a full, healthy unit to withstand the grind of the season and go toe-to-toe with NFC powerhouses. There's also an exciting development with some of the Cowboys' skill position players. Over the offseason, the team made moves to bolster the offense, giving Dak more weapons and more opportunities to spread the ball. But nagging injuries threatened to slow that momentum. The latest updates, however, suggest that several players are shaking off those concerns and are ready to hit the ground running. That's exactly the kind of news Cowboys fans wanted to hear, because the NFC is stacked with offensive firepower, and Dallas can't afford to lag behind. Every healthy weapon matters, every snap counts, and if this team enters the season close to full strength, they'll have a much better chance of living up to their Super Bowl aspirations. When you combine the drama swirling around Jerry Jones with the excitement of these injury updates, you get the perfect snapshot of what it means to follow the Dallas Cowboys. There's never a dull moment. On one hand, you have off-the-field storylines that dominate headlines, with Jones once again at the center of a storm. On the other, you have on-field reasons to feel genuinely excited about what this roster might accomplish. That's what makes covering this team unlike anything else in sports. The Cowboys are always both a soap opera and a legitimate contender. So, as the season approaches, keep your eyes on two key storylines. First, watch how players around the league, both inside and outside Dallas, continue to voice their frustrations or support when it comes to Jerry Jones. This tension could boil over in interesting ways, and how Jones responds might shape his legacy even more than his past accomplishments. Second, keep a close watch on these injury updates, because a healthy Cowboys team is dangerous, and if they get the right guys back at the right time, this could be the year they finally break through that playoff wall that has haunted them for decades. That wraps up today's deep dive into the ongoing Jerry Jones saga and the exciting injury updates surrounding the Cowboys. As always, I'll be keeping you up to speed with every twist and turn, because if history has taught us anything, it's that the Cowboys are never far from the next big headline. Make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts on players pushing back against Jerry Jones, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a single update about America's team.